So today, I'm going to discuss some issues with my Fiat 500. I was going to wait until my 6-month mark, but it's been 5, and I have some problems. Now, I bought the car October 1st, 2014. It had 7 miles on it. It was brand new, off the lot. It's a 2015 Sport. No sunroof, leather trimmed seats, manual transmission, whatever. 2015 has the TFT display. I've got, 7,600 miles on it now. I took a road trip to Florida and back. It's been great. I do not own an iPhone, so this port, the USB, is completely useless. It doesn't do anything for me because they only support iPhone audio over USB, which is fine because my car has Bluetooth audio streaming, which is great because it's new for the 2015s, because prior to 2015 they did not. They only supported phone protocol and contact sharing. But let's talk about the service history of this car. A month after I got it was going into November, and temperatures had just started to drop down into the 30s during the day, and it was cold and it was wet. And one day somebody had gotten in my car and rolled the passenger side window down. They have the one touch, and the window rolls all the way down. Well, it was 30 degrees outside. I don't know why they rolled the window down, but they did. And the window rolled down and stuck. The window rolled down and would not come back up. No matter what I did, I drove for a little bit. I bounced the car around on some bumpy roads, hoping that it was a loose connection of some sort. Nothing seemed to work. And then finally, after driving it around for about an hour with the heat on full blast and the window down, the switch decided to work, and the window went up. So I called my Fiat studio, which at that time was O'Brien Fiat in Greenwood, Indiana on US 31. They resolved the issue by unplugging the switch so nobody could put it down again, and diagnosed it as needing a body control module replaced. That's the computer that controls all of the buttons and switches electrically in the car. So they got that replaced, at 2,000 miles. So a couple weeks later, this speaker right here had started developing a crackle sound when I'd go over bumps and while driving down the highway. And then I realized it completely stopped working at all. So they had to replace the tweeter on my passenger side A-pillar under warranty because it was non-functional. And then after that, everything was fine. I had a routine, I decided this February, and mind you, this whole time, O'Brien Fiat is about 56 miles from my house where I live. So it was quite a drive, and of course, any dealership almost doesn't have warranty service on Saturdays. So if I wanted to have my car fixed, I had to take time off of work to drive out of my way to drop the car off for them to diagnose it for a few hours so I could drive home and go back to work for the rest of the day, so that way I could wait a week for them to get the part so that I could drive back up there and have them replace it, which could take an hour or could take several hours, which it did on the control module. And that happened both times to the speaker and the control module. I had to go up there, diagnose, wait a week, come back, so that's 4 trips total. But February comes around, and I'm going to the North American International Auto Show, and I drive up to Michigan, and temperatures are really cold at this point. It's been below 30 degrees for a couple weeks, and I go to use my main phone button because I had just gotten my Nexus a couple weeks prior to that, my Nexus 6, Motorola Nexus, and I go to use the phone button, and it's not working. Prior to this, I had a Galaxy Note 2 on Android 4 dot something, and it was working fine. And prior to that, I had a Motorola X, one of the 2013 version of the phone on Android 4.4, which also worked with the Bluetooth audio, the streaming, and contact sharing. Everything worked fine. But then I realized that once I was going to the auto show, this button didn't work. That's when I purchased the little blue aux cable, because I really like listening to my music while I'm driving, And it's really handy to have it hands-free, but unfortunately to have my phone plugged in and charging and my phone streaming audio, I have to have 2 cords plugged into my phone, which is why I have this. So I made an appointment before leaving for the North American International Auto Show to go have galling Fiat diagnose the car and look at the issue. And I got it there, and I was also due for an oil change, so I had them do a service and all that while I was there as well. They did that, and they told me that they did a full discharge of the electrical system of the car, and this button magically started working again, and everything was fine, no issues. And I was like, okay, great. So on the way home, I got to enjoy Bluetooth audio with my Nexus 6, and everything was fine. So a couple weeks went by, and I had some issues where I had to factory reset my phone due to some carrier provisioning stuff. And so anyway, needless to say, I lost my Bluetooth connections, the trusted devices and whatnot. If you're familiar with Android 5.0, Smart Lock lets you connect to a Bluetooth device and bypass your PIN code when you are connected to a trusted Bluetooth device, which the Fiat Blue and Me system was my trusted device, so I never had to use my PIN code when I was in the car. Now, a few weeks went by, and I got the factory reset done, and I went to use this button again, and lo and behold, it had stopped working yet again. It did nothing at all. You could push it and push it and push it. All of these other buttons worked. All of these buttons worked. All of the buttons on the back worked. But this one button to open the phone main menu did not work. You could still use voice commands. I don't like using the voice commands because the Blue and Me voice command system is garbage. It's really slow, and it can barely hear you. It's considerably better than in previous models from what I've heard. The microphone is right here. But, so yeah. So this stopped working again. And so I called Kathy, the agent that I've been discussing my case with, my open case with Fiat USA, and she, told me that Sweeney Fiat of Florence, Kentucky, which is not the closest dealership to me because none of them are really close. It's either there or Noblesville, Indiana, or Louisville because my dealership in Greenwood, Indiana closed. They're all about an hour and 25-minute drives. So I take it to Sweeney Fiat and drop the car off that night because they let me do an overnight drop, and they had a courtesy car waiting for me, which was really nice. So I drive home, and about, 2 o'clock the next afternoon, they called me to let me know that they had replaced the telephony module in the car and everything was fine. So I'm like, okay, great, the car's good to go. I'll drive down there tonight, pick it up, everything will be good to go. So I drive down there last night and pick the car up, and immediately before I even leave the parking lot, I turn the car on, and I go to push this button, and I'll show you exactly what happens. I'll go ahead and mute the car. So when you push the telephony button, it brings up recent, blank, user, blank, message, 11. It was 10, now it's 11. And this is all fine. But blank brings up USB media settings. Message brings up read last. You can get all kind of, it's kind of half-assed working. But it's really not working because the main issue that I really like the 2015 over the 2014, other than the TFT display, which is seen here, is that it acquired the A2DP Bluetooth protocol, which allows audio media streaming from the phone to the car. That no longer works. It doesn't do anything anymore. There's no option, even though the car, you can see that it's synced up there in the right-hand corner of the cluster, that I have Bluetooth connection with the phone. I can make phone calls, I can receive phone call audio, and my contacts are in the car, but I cannot stream audio via Bluetooth because it just never shows up as an option. Now, I went there last night to pick up the car, and after I discovered this was an issue, he insisted that I use,
say a command.
the the Blue and Me system to pair my phone and stuff, and I've never liked using that because I should be able to use the button to pair it. It's easier, it's simpler, and it works better than trying to talk to my car. But he told me that that's what I should be doing and whatever, so he got his iPhone 5 paired to the car, and he didn't do any audio streaming, but he made a test call to the dealership to make sure that it would work, and it did. And then I paired my phone to the car. The second time I attempted to pair it, it actually did pair. The first time it refused to. It would just show that it was paired, but it wouldn't connect. So I got my phone actually connected to the car, and it connected, and I made a phone call, and everything was fine, but I realized I still couldn't stream media because when I go into Bluetooth settings, under Blue and Me, you can push the little gear in Android 5.0, and it shows you available services, and it shows phone audio for calls, and it shows contact sharing. There is no media streaming. So now I've talked with another agent at Fiat of USA, because my agent is out of the office today, about it, and she's discussed it with Sweeney Fiat, and they believe that it's an incompatibility issue with my car and my phone. Even though prior to this, I had the phone working just fine with my car over Bluetooth audio streaming, and they're trying to pin it on me and my phone. And it's not my phone's fault at all, because my phone was previously working and now it's not. But any idiot, before even connecting the phone to the car, you get this menu of wonkiness where there's a lot of odd options and blank spaces for buttons, and I can push enter on the buttons and they're there. So something's not right, obviously. Any sane person that owns a Fiat and looked at these options would see that. So, yeah, that's my big issue right now, and with this being the third time I've tried to fix this issue, and they're telling me that they're going to have a courtesy car for me now, but if they decide that it's an incompatibility with my phone, they're going to charge me for the courtesy car, because it wasn't a warranty issue, it's my fault, and I'm kind of pissed about that, because this isn't my fault. My phone did work with the car. Other phones I've had worked fine with the car, and A2DP is A2DP. That's a Bluetooth protocol that's universal across all mobile OSs and hardware that just works just like it should. Other notes. There's some strange rattles in the car now. That it's got 7,600 miles on it. I drove it to Florida and back in February. Drove it to Florida back in February, and I never got the acclaimed 40 miles to the gallon, but once in Florida, and that was in quick-moving, heavy traffic, so there was a lot of slipstreaming going on. I got 40.7, but the rest of the trip I averaged, driving conservatively at 70 exactly, I got 36 to 37 miles to the gallon in fifth gear on the highway, and then it dropped to 35 and 34 once I got farther north, and there's a lot of hills and stuff, and driving through Tennessee with the mountains. So the fuel ratings of 30 to 41 that they put on the sticker are not correct. That's a lie, which EPA ratings are never right anyway, but just as a little FYI, they're not right. Around town, I get really not so great gas mileage. I struggle to average 30, but I usually shift around 2100 RPM in town while I'm driving just to conserve fuel. So rattles. Over here in the dash somewhere, upon acceleration, under this panel somewhere, there is a rattle, and I've stated it to people, and they said that it was the catback exhaust I put on the car, but it was doing that rattle before I did that. I just ignored it and let it go, but it is an issue that does occur. Nothing else has been an issue on the car. Everything else has worked the way that it should. Buttons are fine, lights are fine, body panels are fine. I was rear-ended while I was in Detroit. It was a minor damage accident where they replaced the bumper cover and the rear rebar support, but the airbags didn't deploy and there was no structural damage. So that's my 5-month update on my ownership of a brand new 2015 Fiat 500 Sport. and I just wanted to video this to put it out there on YouTube and possibly Facebook, and even maybe link it to Twitter, to Chrysler's corporate Twitter account, so they can see this, because I really feel like I'm being treated unfairly here. And when I purchased the car, I was looking at a few different other models, but I really, really liked the 500 because of the retro styling and the fact that it is a blast to drive. I have the option of a standard transmission, which is something that was really important for me to have coming from an older Lexus, which obviously was not a manual, and it was a gas hog, so this has been a refreshing change in that regard. But the fact that I've had to drive to the dealership so many times in less than 6 months of ownership is a testament to the quality of my car. Now, I know people that also bought 500s around the same time I bought mine. They have similar mileage on their car, and they haven't had the issues that I have. So I don't know if it's me, if it's Fiat, if it's just my car being a lemon. I've thrown around the idea of trading this off somehow, or even talking to Chrysler of America, Fiat, about buyback, because the car's got some issues, obviously, and I don't want to be 3 years down the road without an extended warranty, which I did not purchase because I figured it was a new car. I'm mechanically inclined, but I hadn't planned on electrical gremlins and modules going bad in 6 months of ownership. So, right now, I'm really regretting not buying a Fiesta ST, even though it was out of my budget. But I couldn't find one to test drive at the time, so I didn't have the ability to drive it and fall in love with it and just deal with the more expensive payment. And I kind of wish I had anyway. So that's where I stand right now with my 2015 Fiat 500.